Friends, thank you so very much. As the governor was speaking, I was mentally tearing up my speech because she covered most of the things I wanted. And I am today going to do something I really don't like to do. I am sort of going to read a speech because this is going to be on all of our sites. It's important for the people because most of you are friends to know exactly why we're doing this and what it means to us to be an American. Jennifer and I served together. She was an extraordinary leader. We were actually whips, believe it or not. Can you see her and I?
Don't visualize.
Luckily,
Sharon.
luckily, it was one of those times when there was a lot of money, and Alan Best was the speaker, and Alan is such an exceptional human being that it made easy. And she did introduce my family. It is absolutely true that those of us that run, those of us that win, get a lot of the credit. The price is paid by the family because people aren't home. Now, I will share with you before I start a single secret that no one in this room basically knows. The governor, last night at about 8 p.m., became a grandmother. She is now, she's now just like me. You know that old bumper sticker, if I knew the Grinch would be so much fun. I'd start with that, yeah. We purposely wanted to come to Martin County. We purposely wanted to talk up here with the rivers because the theme of our campaign is we owe a legacy to our children. And certainly all of us came to Florida for clean water, clean air. And we're not getting that. We're just not getting that. And I can assure you, just as I worked on the Loxahatchee River and the Lake Worth Lagoon issues, and worked on SERP, and worked on getting monies from the local government, we are prepared to work both with legislative leaders that now exist, because I served with many of them, as well as ensuring that the federal government pay its share of SERP proceeds so that we don't have environmental damage going forward. And that's going to be one of the commitments I will make to you. Now, I am going to read a little bit more than I want to, but as I said, I'm doing this because I think what we're trying to talk about is important, and I want to be a little bit more precise than I usually am. Every other time you see me, it'll be a short speech, and I won't be reading, but this time is a little different. As I said, Jennifer said many of the things. Let's see if I can't say them in a little different way. It's been pointed out that once all is said and done, much more is said than is done. And that is especially true in Washington, D.C. Under the current Democratic leadership, the failed promises of a new transparency, the lip service in favor of a balanced budget, the lure of, quote, change we can count on, have left many across our district and across America despairing, discouraged, and disappointed. I am one person, and it is my strong desire to alter that direction that brings me here today. Rather than make a long speech, let me tell a story. A few generations back, two immigrants came to America. They both were seeking the same bright future for them and their children. They were drawn by the same impetus that has made our nation a beacon of opportunity all around the globe. One man was a shopkeeper, the other a barber by trade, and both shared a deep-seated dream of a better life for themselves and for their families. This dream drove them to leave behind their culture and the comforts of home and make the rough passage to America. They passed through the great American filter of immigration, leaving behind the less ambitious, the less idealistic. And each began the hard work of building a business in their adopted homeland. The values they embodied were eventually passed on to their children and their descendants. This process, repeated millions and millions of times throughout American history, spawned a true culture of accomplishment. The shopkeeper passed on values such as thrift, a strong work ethic, and the simple patriotism to his son. The barber did the same with his attractive young daughter. During World War II, the shopkeeper's son and the barber's daughter met, fell in love, and were soon married. The groom, who would become my father, served with distinction for 27 years in the Marines. Though far from rich, the couple saw all 4 of their children earn college degrees, 2 with PhDs. No, we were not a wealthy family, but we were enriched in many other ways. We were blessed with much love and mutual respect. We grew up knowing that Christmas meant a single toy for each of us because that's all our parents could afford. Many meals were meatless growing up, but thanks to my mother's thrifty habits, on Wednesdays and Sundays, we could always count on spaghetti and the finest grade A chicken money could buy. The dreams that shopkeeper and the barber brought to these shores, a dream of a better life for their grandchildren, have been realized thanks to the cherished American values of political liberty and free enterprise. But precisely these values are threatened and under siege like never before in our country's history. My story is not remarkable. It's the American story. It is your story. It is your story. It is his story. It is history, our heritage and our history. Like your families, ours has enjoyed the fruits of the American dream. My dear wife Sharon and I are the peacock-proud parents of 2 wonderful kids. Reagan, our daughter, is following the dream of becoming an accomplished dancer. She made it, I almost go to tears at this point. She made us so proud when after much grueling practice, a few years ago, she got the leading role in the Nutcracker. Our son Mason is the most quick-witted 14-year-old I've ever seen. He shares my fanatic attachment to Florida State University, and thanks to hard work and discipline, is on the way to becoming a champion tennis player. The values developing with each child's character are the same ones that have been passed down from their immigrant ancestors, but they will be able to continue to pass on this legacy of achievement to the next generation, will they? When I observe the direction of Washington is taken under the guidance of Pelosi and Murphy, I have to wonder and I have to worry. Yes, my family story is a common one here in America, but in many countries around the world, it would be viewed as unusual. In those countries, your life's destiny is forged from the day you are born. Individual talent and enterprise count for little. Your station in life is determined by that of your parents. But that's not America's story. Here we have always cherished no limits on how far individual initiative can take you. Those are the values that attracted my grandparents and that inspire and animate my children. But these ideals and values are today being jeopardized as never before. The current crowd in Washington, under the banner of so-called Enlightenment leadership, have elected to ignore the lessons of our legacy that have delivered unprecedented prosperity to so many. Instead, they embrace an economic vision based on the failed policies, I know where I'm going, of the socialist nations of Europe. They would have us believe we're better off with policy decisions made by unelected government bureaucrats instead of trusting American citizens to exercise personal responsibility over their own lives. I challenge this notion. I reject the course we are on as a nation, and I am completely committed to changing it. To declare my intention of running for the United States Congress, District 18 today. campaign will be vigorous, passionate, and keenly focused on the key issues of increased economic growth and job creation for our district, for our state, and for our nation. The past few years have seen the Pelosi-Murphy team running roughshod over the interest of our country's greatest asset, the entrepreneur, the small businessman, the shopkeeper, the barber. These are the essential building blocks of a healthy economy. Washington has unleashed a reign of ruin on these folks with oppressive new regulations that kill the spirit of enterprise. I pledge to reject, repeal, and reverse this destructive trend. The Pelosi-Murphy gang say they favor transparency in government, but most people can see through that claim, especially when you observe IRS officials pleading the Fifth Amendment before Congress. Let's see you try doing that during your next audit. Instead of honesty in action, we get arrogance and obfuscation. We still cannot learn what really happened in Benghazi. It is time to let in some sunshine and time to clear the air. And that's exactly what I plan to do. The liberal power wielders tell the American people that Obamacare contains no new taxes, while they argue before the Supreme Court that Obamacare is constitutional because it is a tax. This is duplicity we deserve and should be demanding directness. They consider it a virtue to constantly raise taxes to redistribute wealth. They call it social justice. I call it a failed economic experiment that only someone blind to history would follow. They fail to understand that as interest rates rise, more and more of our government's revenues will be needed to support the national debt, shifting the responsibility for paying off that debt to our children and future generations. They watch with blasé disinterest foreign rivals buy more and more of that public debt and continue to absorb an increasing number of our American companies. In summary, the Pelosi-Murphy team style of leadership idolizes the failed welfare states of Western Europe, characterized by huge entitlement programs, exorbitant sovereign debt, and economic stagnation and unavoidable decline. It was these folks that told us that government must expand tax dollars in bailing out floundering financial institutions that were, quote, too big to fail. They have created a government that is too big to succeed. The liberal Democrats in charge of the Senate and White House wish to create a world without risk, a dream world of equal outcomes, but that is not the American dream. We stand for equal opportunities and believe that a government that prevents you from failing also can prevent you from succeeding. Our vision for Americans' future is a vastly different one than theirs. In their vision, profit is a dirty word, and any company that turns a profit does so by exploiting their customers. In our vision, profit attracts capital and creates incentives to utilize it more efficiently and effectively. In their vision, government is a big brother from which all goods and services flow. In our vision, government is the servant of the people, here to defend our interests and maintain a level playing field where everyone enjoys an equal chance at achieving success. In their vision, it is proper to use government agencies, such as the IRS, to harass political opponents. In our vision, government policy is not guided by partisanship, but by a commitment to the common good. And it never loses sight of its obligation to honor the rights guaranteed by our Constitution. In their vision, major legislation such as mandatory health care is passed without first being vetted and its provisions fully understood by every member of Congress. In our vision, all laws are drafted to be truly transparent before legislators vote on it. In their vision, that I call bye-bye Miss American Pie, income is redistributed to so everyone gets an equal share of the constantly shrinking pie. In our vision, we grow the entire pie so everyone gets a bigger slice. In their vision, consumers are forced to pay ever-rising prices at the pump thanks to crony capitalism. Our vision deploys new technologies to achieve real energy independence and end our reliance on nations who often support those who threaten our national security. In our vision, America's best days still lie ahead. Government regulation should be limited and taxation fairly administered. If the people of our district believe, as I do, that it's time to send a strong message, that it's time to say to Washington, their misguided prevailing vision cannot be allowed to continue, that it is time to stop placing larger and larger barriers between the American worker and the fruits of their labor, then I am prepared to deliver that message loud and clear to the highest reaches of our nation's government. So in conclusion, I call upon the voters of our district to make their voices heard in the hallowed halls of Congress. It was Ronald Reagan who pointed out Washington is the only place on earth where sound travels faster than light. And I am here to say, let them hear the sound of your voices, and we together will bring to our government the light of reason and responsibility. I thank you so very much for your attention.